The story begins with rising tensions on the Belarusian border, where Ukrainian forces have managed to push back Russian troops attempting to solidify their positions. This development has not only stunned Moscow but also fueled intense anger from President Vladimir Putin, who views the Ukrainian advance as both a humiliation and a strategic setback. At the same time, Ukraine's leadership, including President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, has celebrated this achievement as a sign that resilience, determination, and Western support are reshaping the battlefield. The fighting near Belarus highlights the critical role of geography in the conflict, the danger of escalation spreading into new territories, and the continued pressure on Russia's military machine. This story is not just about a battle, but about how Ukraine is rewriting the narrative of resistance and survival in Europe's most volatile war since World War II. Hello everyone, welcome back to the World Conflict Monitor channel. Please subscribe to my channel for more in-depth updates and explanations about global wars, conflicts, and military developments. Today we are diving deep into the latest breakthrough, where Ukraine has pushed back Russian forces near the Belarus border, an event that is shaking political centers from Kyiv to Moscow and beyond. This video will break down the situation in terms of exterior, interior, performance, safety features, unique selling points, price, and conclusion, so we can understand the conflict not just as an event, but as an unfolding system with multiple dimensions. On the exterior level, the geography of this border clash is critical. The Belarus-Ukraine border is long, forested, and strategically sensitive. Russia has long used Belarus as a staging ground for troop movements and missile launches, making it a permanent threat hanging over Ukraine's northern flank. Ukraine's ability to push Russian forces back in this zone signals not only strength but also a new level of strategic depth. The forests, marshes, and rural settlements along the frontier make maneuvering difficult, giving defenders an advantage if they are disciplined and well supplied. By regaining control of forward positions, Ukraine has secured its ability to detect and intercept any further Russian incursions from the north, which previously haunted Kyiv since the early days of the war when Russian convoys threatened the capital directly. Moving briefly into the interior, the human side of this story reveals a nation that refuses to collapse under pressure. Ukrainian soldiers, many of them reservists and volunteers, have transformed into hardened defenders of their homeland. The morale inside these units is a decisive factor, contrasting with Russian troops who often face logistical shortages, unclear orders, or low motivation. Villagers along the Belarus border that once lived in fear of occupation are now reporting cautious optimism, with civilians feeling that the tide is turning, at least locally. This short glimpse into the interior emphasizes that wars are not only fought with weapons but also with spirit and conviction. In terms of performance, Ukraine has demonstrated adaptability that continues to surprise analysts. From repurposing Western weapons to mastering drone warfare, Ukraine has turned battlefield innovation into an art form. In this border push, reports indicate that unmanned aerial vehicles were used to disrupt Russian supply convoys, while precision artillery struck command posts deep behind enemy lines. Combined arms coordination has allowed small units to outmaneuver larger Russian formations, proving that size alone does not guarantee dominance. Russia, despite its larger army, struggles with performance inefficiencies, logistics that break down. Command structures plagued by corruption, and an inability to sustain momentum. This imbalance in operational performance is one of the reasons Ukraine continues to achieve local breakthroughs despite being outnumbered. Safety features in this context can be understood as Ukraine's defensive mechanisms. Fortified trench lines, anti-tank obstacles, mobile air defenses, and an integrated intelligence network have all reduced the chances of a sudden Russian breakthrough. Western-supplied systems like NASAMS, RST, and Patriot batteries have protected Ukrainian skies, allowing ground operations to take place with fewer disruptions from Russian aircraft. On the Belarusian frontier, Ukraine has increased surveillance, set up early warning radar, and coordinated with local defense forces to ensure that any sudden offensive can be detected and repelled before it reaches deeper into Ukrainian territory. These safety layers are not foolproof, but they make the battlefield less vulnerable to surprise, a stark contrast to 2022 when Russian troops advanced almost unopposed toward Kyiv. The unique selling points of this development lie in Ukraine's ability to merge resilience with international support. Unlike Russia, which increasingly fights alone with limited allies, Ukraine is backed by a coalition of nations providing advanced weaponry, financial aid, and intelligence sharing. This blend of local bravery and global solidarity is what makes Ukraine's defense unique. Another unique aspect is Ukraine's capacity to turn setbacks into lessons. Each failed defense in earlier stages of the war has been studied, adapted, and transformed into a new doctrine of resistance. On the Belarus border, what once was a vulnerability has been turned into a defensive advantage. The message to both allies and adversaries is clear: Ukraine cannot be easily subdued, and any attempt to crush it will only invite further resistance. When discussing price, the cost of this war is staggering. For Ukraine, the price is measured in lives lost, cities destroyed, and an economy strained to its breaking point. Every village regained near the Belarus border comes at the expense of countless hours of training, scarce ammunition, and the sacrifice of soldiers who may never return home. For Russia, the price is international isolation, a bleeding economy under sanctions, and mounting casualties that can no longer be hidden from the Russian public. Belarus, too, pays a price by being dragged into a war that many of its citizens oppose, with the risk of becoming a battlefield itself. The financial cost is only part of the story. The real price is human, measured in broken families and shattered futures. In conclusion, Ukraine's success in pushing back Russian forces at the Belarus border is more than a tactical gain. It is a symbolic victory that underscores the resilience of a nation under siege and the vulnerabilities of a superpower that expected quick dominance but found itself mired in endless struggle. Putin's fury reflects both political embarrassment and strategic anxiety, as the war he launched to expand influence instead erodes Russia's strength and prestige. For Ukraine, the moment is one of hope, but also a reminder that each step forward is hard-won and fragile. The Belarus border may not decide the outcome of the war, but it represents the broader truth: Ukraine's fight is not just about territory, but about survival, sovereignty, and the reshaping of Europe's security order. The world watches closely because what happens here will echo far beyond the forests and fields of Eastern Europe.